12 American warships crossed the first island chain simultaneously. 40,000 troops deployed to forward positions across 6 countries. 127 billion in military hardware repositions within 72 hours. The Pentagon calls it routine exercise. China calls it provocation. But satellite imagery reveals a chess game where every piece matters, and one wrong move triggers catastrophe. This is how America is redrawing the Pacific battlefield. The moves started quietly on January 8th at exactly 0400 hours. USS Carl Vinson Carrier Strike Group departed San Diego. Destination classified. Flight path tracked northwest toward Hawaii, then vanished from public tracking systems. 3 days later, the Vinson emerged 400 miles east of Guam. Not routine. Carriers don't disappear and reappear without purpose. The message was clear before a single word got spoken. American carrier power can be anywhere in the Pacific within 96 hours. China was definitely watching. Simultaneously, the U.S. Marine Corps activated a new doctrine that terrifies Chinese military planners: Expeditionary Advanced Base Operations. The concept is brilliantly simple. Instead of concentrating forces on large bases that China can target with missiles, Marines disperse into small units across dozens of islands. They set up temporary bases with anti-ship missiles. They operate for days or weeks, then relocate before China can target them. It's guerrilla warfare adapted for naval conflict. And it's happening right now across the Pacific. On January 12th, Marines established a forward arming and refueling point on Palau. Population 18,000, located 800 miles east of the Philippines. The base lasted 48 hours. Marines flew in via MV-22 Osprey tiltrotor aircraft. They brought portable radar systems, HIMARS rocket launchers, NSM anti-ship missiles with 115-mile range. For 2 days, this tiny island hosted firepower that could sink Chinese warships. Then, the Marines packed up and left. The base now exists somewhere else. China has no idea where. That's the entire point. The same pattern repeated on Yap Island, Chuuk, Pohnpei, Kosrae. American forces appeared. Established capability, vanished. Each island sits along the second island chain. Each island provides a firing position against Chinese naval forces trying to break out into the Pacific. Together, they create a missile picket line that extends 2,000 miles. China cannot attack all these positions simultaneously. China cannot even locate them all. This is asymmetric warfare at its finest. What's your assessment of this strategy? Type A if you think island-hopping tactics work. Type B if you think China overwhelms these positions. Meanwhile in Japan, construction crews worked around the clock at Kadena Air Base. They weren't repairing runways. They were building hardened aircraft shelters. 36 new shelters designed to withstand near misses from Chinese ballistic missiles. Each shelter costs $8 million. Each protects 2 F-22 Raptor fighters worth $143 million each. The math is simple. China might destroy runways with missile strikes, but the aircraft survive in shelters. Temporary runways get operational within hours. The F-22s fly again. China wasted missiles without achieving the objective. This is defensive layering that makes Chinese first strikes far less effective. Kadena isn't alone. Misawa Air Base received similar upgrades. Yokota Air Base expanded its fuel storage capacity by 400%. Sasebo Naval Base deepened its port facilities to accommodate larger amphibious ships. These aren't random improvements. This is systematic hardening of Japanese facilities for sustained combat operations. The investment totals over $11 billion across 5 years. That's not defense spending. That's preparation. South Korea saw parallel developments. Osan Air Base received Patriot's missile batteries upgraded to PAC-3 MSE standard. These interceptors can hit ballistic missiles traveling at Mach 8. Camp Humphreys expanded to become the largest overseas American military installation in the world, 40 square miles. It hosts 500 buildings and can accommodate 43,000 people. That's not a base. That's a city built for war. The Philippines represents the most significant strategic shift. After decades of reduced American presence, bases are reopening. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement now provides American forces access to 9 Philippine bases. Basa Air Base sits 50 miles from Subic Bay. That's 500 miles from Taiwan. Perfect staging distance for aircraft supporting Taiwan defense operations. Palawan Island bases position forces near disputed South China Sea features. American A-10 Warthog ground attack aircraft deployed there in December. The A-10 is obsolete against modern air defenses, but it's perfect for close air support and anti-ship missions in contested environments. Its presence sends a specific message about mission intent. Australia committed to the largest military expansion in its history, $58 billion over 10 years. The centerpiece is AUKUS nuclear submarine program. Australia will operate 8 Virginia-class attack submarines starting in the 2030s. These boats are quieter than anything China builds. They carry Tomahawk cruise missiles and advanced torpedoes. 8 Australian submarines operating from Perth and Brisbane creates a submarine blockade choke point through which Chinese energy imports must pass. Beijing understands the implication perfectly. Australian northern bases are expanding too. Tyndall Air Base now hosts American B-52 bombers on rotational deployment. 6 bombers arrived in November. Each carries 20 cruise missiles, or 51,000 pounds of bombs. From Tyndall, they can strike targets 2,000 miles away. That includes southern China, South China Sea, and most Southeast Asian waters. The bombers operate from Australian territory, but under American command. This is burden sharing that extends American reach while giving Australia capabilities it never possessed independently. If you're enjoying this deep dive into modern warfare, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. The naval movements tell an equally compelling story. Since August, American attack submarines transited the South China Sea 24 times. Publicly announced transits numbered only 6. The other 18 were detected by Chinese sonar networks and confirmed through intelligence channels. America wanted China to know submarines were present, but didn't announce every passage. The psychological effect is powerful. If we detected 18, how many more did we miss? Chinese naval commanders must assume American submarines are always present. That assumption constrains their operational freedom dramatically. Surface warships conduct freedom of navigation operations with increasing frequency and boldness. In September, USS Milius sailed within 12 miles of Mischief Reef. China built an artificial island there with runways and military facilities. Under international law, artificial islands don't generate territorial waters. America's transit asserted that legal principle physically. China scrambled fighters and dispatched warships. The vessels shadowed Milius, but didn't interfere. Score 1 for international law backed by destroyer escorts. October saw USS Rafael Peralta and HMCS Ottawa conduct a joint transit through Taiwan Strait. Canadian and American warships sailing together. The transit took 14 hours. Chinese vessels maintained constant surveillance, but never came closer than 2,000 yards. The operation demonstrated Allied coordination and commitment to keeping international waters open. It also normalized Taiwan Strait transits. What China once could protest as provocative became routine. Routine operations are harder to escalate over. The air domain shows equally aggressive posturing. B-1B Lancer bombers from Guam conducted 47 missions over the South China Sea in the past 6 months. These supersonic bombers carry 24 LRASM anti-ship missiles each. One bomber can engage an entire Chinese surface action group. The missions practiced low-altitude approaches, high-speed runs, electronic warfare profiles. Missile simulations stopped just short of actual launches. Chinese radar operators watched American bombers practice killing Chinese ships. The psychological impact exceeds any propaganda. F-35 deployments to the region increased 300% compared to 2 years ago. Marine Corps F-35Bs now operate from amphibious assault ships throughout the Pacific. These ships lack catapults, but F-35Bs take off vertically. They can operate from any ship with a flat deck. This mobility means Chinese planners cannot predict where American fifth-generation fighters will appear next. The fog of war just got much thicker. Don't miss what comes next. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an analysis like this. Training exercises reveal operational priorities. Talisman Sabre joint exercise with Australia involved 30,000 troops in July. The scenario was unambiguous: Chinese forces invading a Pacific island nation, Allied forces conducting amphibious assault to liberate it. Media coverage focused on cooperation and friendship. Military planners focused on testing procedures for exactly this contingency. They practiced everything from initial lodgement to sustained operations. The lessons learned directly informed Taiwan defense planning. Valiant Shield exercise in June gathered 3 carrier strike groups near Guam. USS Ronald Reagan, USS Carl Vinson, and USS Theodore Roosevelt operated together for 2 weeks. This concentration of naval power hasn't occurred since World War II. The carriers practiced integrated air operations, coordinated missile defense, anti-submarine warfare, all the capabilities required for fighting China in the Pacific. The exercise consumed $73 million in fuel and ammunition. That's real money spent on realistic training. You don't spend that unless you expect to use these skills. Rim of the Pacific exercise in August was the world's largest naval exercise. 29 nations participated. 38 ships, 170 aircraft, 25,000 personnel. Notably, China was not invited despite participating in previous iterations. The message was clear: the Pacific Coalition excludes China. The exercise practiced amphibious landings, mine countermeasures, submarine hunting, and air defense. These are precisely the capabilities needed to counter Chinese aggression. Every participant went home with enhanced ability to fight alongside American forces. The logistics buildup is equally significant, but less visible. Ammunition stockpiles in Guam increased 400% since 2021. Fuel storage capacity across Pacific bases expanded by 6 million barrels. Spare parts inventories for critical systems tripled. Medical facilities upgraded to handle mass casualties. These investments don't make headlines, but they enable sustained combat operations. Without logistics, advanced weapons become expensive paperweights. With logistics, forces can fight for months. What would you have done to counter Chinese expansion in the Pacific? Comment your answer below. Space and cyber domains complete the picture. U.S. Space Force established new tracking stations throughout the Pacific. These facilities monitor Chinese satellites, detect missile launches, and coordinate GPS coverage. When conflict starts, space superiority determines who sees the battlefield and who operates blind. American investment in space infrastructure is creating significant advantage. China is racing to catch up, but currently lags by years. Cyber operations are by nature classified, but indicators leak. In October, Chinese military networks experienced widespread disruptions during a major exercise. Systems crashed. Communications failed. Malware appeared in logistics databases. Chinese investigators traced intrusions to American Cyber Command. The operations demonstrated American capability to disrupt Chinese military operations at critical moments. If it can happen during exercises, it will definitely happen during actual conflict. Chinese planners must now assume their networks are compromised. That assumption degrades their confidence in executing complex operations. The diplomatic component reinforces military positioning. Secretary of State conducted 5 Pacific visits in 8 months. Secretary of Defense visited 7 countries. The chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff met counterparts from 12 regional nations. These aren't courtesy calls. These are strategy sessions coordinating response to Chinese coercion. Each meeting produces agreements on basing rights, intelligence sharing, logistics cooperation, and military training. The web of alliances grows stronger with each visit. Quad meetings between United States, Japan, India, and Australia occur quarterly now. The grouping shares intelligence on Chinese military activities. They coordinate naval exercises. They align positions on South China Sea disputes. India brings unique capabilities with its proximity to Chinese border and naval presence in Indian Ocean. If conflict occurs, Indian forces can threaten Chinese western flank. That forces China to split resources between Pacific and Indian Ocean theaters. Classic strategic dilemma. AUKUS represents the deepest defense cooperation imaginable. Sharing nuclear submarine technology is unprecedented. Britain and America never shared this with anyone previously. Extending it to Australia demonstrates long-term strategic commitment. The partnership includes artificial intelligence cooperation, quantum computing research, hypersonic weapons development, and cyber capabilities. This isn't equipment sales. This is technological partnership that makes the three nations essentially one military entity for Pacific operations. This kind of detailed tactical breakdown takes hours to research. Subscribe to help us keep making them. Chinese reactions reveal their concerns. State media publishes regular denunciations of American militarism. Chinese Foreign Ministry calls American moves destabilizing. Chinese military conducts counter-exercises whenever Americans operate nearby. But here's what's most telling. China changed its own deployments in response. Additional destroyers patrol the South China Sea. Submarine activity around Taiwan increased. Fighter patrols extended farther from the coast. These responses demonstrate American moves are having the intended effect. China feels pressured. China feels contained. That's strategic success from America's perspective. The economic dimension cannot be separated from military positioning. Restricting Chinese access to advanced semiconductors doesn't happen without military power backing it up. Companies like TSMC in Taiwan need security guarantees to reject Chinese pressure. Those guarantees come from American military presence. Similarly, countries choose to host American forces partly because they want protection from Chinese economic coercion. The military and economic strategies reinforce each other. Critical minerals supply chains are another intersection of economics and security. Rare earth elements essential for weapon systems mostly come from China. America is diversifying sources through partnerships with Australia, Canada, and Japan. But securing alternative supply lines requires military power to keep sea lanes open. If China blockades shipping, rare earth alternatives become useless. Military presence enables economic independence from China. Technology transfer restrictions work the same way. America convinced Netherlands and Japan to restrict semiconductor manufacturing equipment sales to China. These countries agreed partly because American security guarantees make Chinese retaliation less threatening. Without American military backing, these countries might cave to Chinese economic pressure. Military power enables technological containment. The timeline reveals acceleration. 5 years ago, American carriers visited the Pacific twice annually. Now, they maintain continuous presence. 5 years ago, Marines didn't operate expeditionary bases. Now, they disperse across dozens of islands regularly. 5 years ago, Australia hosted token American deployments. Now they're building cities for American forces. The buildup isn't subtle, it's dramatic and deliberate. Your engagement directly shapes what we cover next. Drop a comment and subscribe. Budget allocations confirm priorities. Pacific Deterrence Initiative received $11 billion for 2024. That's separate from normal defense spending. It funds specific capabilities for Indo-Pacific operations. Hypersonic missile development, long-range anti-ship weapons, hardened facilities, ammunition stockpiles. Every dollar goes toward countering China. The money talks louder than any policy statement. Congressional actions matter too. Legislation restricting military cooperation with China passed with bipartisan support. Bills funding Taiwanese weapons purchases move quickly. Resolutions supporting regional allies sail through. Regardless of partisan divisions on domestic issues, China policy enjoys consensus. That consensus enables sustained military posturing across administrations. Intelligence assessments leaked to media paint concerning pictures of Chinese intentions. Most leaks describe Chinese military modernization as focused specifically on Taiwan scenarios. The intelligence community judges Xi Jinping committed to reunification on his watch. Timelines estimate Chinese capability to invade Taiwan reaches adequate levels by 2027. These assessments, whether accurate or strategic messaging, justify American military buildup as necessary preparation rather than provocation. Allied intelligence adds detail. Japanese surveillance tracks every Chinese naval movement. Australian signals intelligence monitors Chinese communications. Indian satellite imagery covers Chinese border regions. Korean intelligence penetrates Chinese networks. This combined picture gives America advantages no single nation could achieve independently. The alliance intelligence fusion is itself a force multiplier. The procurement pipeline shows what's coming. Constellation-class frigates specifically designed for Pacific operations enter service starting 2026. These ships pack anti-submarine weapons, anti-ship missiles, and air defense into smaller platforms suitable for littoral operations. 20 ships are planned. That's 20 additional hulls specifically for Pacific missions. Virginia Block V submarines with additional payload tubes begin delivery in 2025. Each sub carries 40 Tomahawk missiles instead of 12. That's triple the firepower for striking Chinese targets. B-21 Raider stealth bomber reaches operational status in 2027. The aircraft matches B-2 stealth, but costs half as much. More important, it's designed from the start for Pacific distances. The combat radius exceeds 5,000 miles. It can strike anywhere in China from Guam without refueling. It carries same precision weapons as B-2, but in greater numbers. Once operational, the B-21 fleet renders Chinese homeland vulnerable in ways currently impossible. Hypersonic weapons development focuses on Pacific scenarios. Long-range hypersonic weapon travels Mach 17 and reaches targets 1,725 miles away in under 15 minutes. No defense can intercept it reliably. China's aircraft carriers become vulnerable anywhere within that radius of American launch platforms. The weapon enters service in 2025. Dark Eagle system provides Army with similar capability for land-based launchers. These weapons don't just threaten Chinese ships, they threaten Chinese territory directly from standoff range. If you made it this far, you're the core of our community. Like, subscribe and hit that bell. The public messaging complements military actions. Indo-Pacific strategy documents published by White House describe China as the only competitor with capability and intent to reshape the international order. That's diplomatic language for identifying China as the primary threat. Every subsequent policy decision flows from that assessment. Resources prioritize Pacific over other theaters. Alliances focus on China scenarios. Technology development targets Chinese capabilities. National Defense Strategy explicitly names China as the pacing challenge. This term means China's military capabilities set the standard for American requirements. If China develops a new weapon, America must counter it. If China achieves new capability, America must match it. This framework justifies essentially unlimited spending on Pacific-oriented capabilities. As long as China remains the pacing challenge, budgets for Pacific operations remain secure. Private sector coordination is extensive but rarely discussed. Defense contractors receive guidance on prioritizing Pacific needs. Shipyards focus on vessels optimized for Pacific distances. Aircraft manufacturers emphasize range and payload for Asia missions. Even logistics companies orient toward Pacific supply chains. The entire military-industrial complex reoriented toward this theater. That mobilization doesn't happen casually. It reflects genuine strategic commitment. Academic and think tank analysis consistently emphasizes Pacific importance. RAND Corporation publishes regular assessments of Taiwan scenarios. Center for Strategic and International Studies wargames Chinese aggression. Council on Foreign Relations dedicates significant resources to Asian security. This intellectual ecosystem reinforces policy priorities and maintains public focus on the region. When expert consensus aligns with official policy, sustaining political support becomes easier. Media coverage amplified Pacific military activities. Major outlets send correspondents to report from carriers and bases. Stories about Chinese military buildup appear regularly. Opinion pieces debate Taiwan commitments. This coverage shapes public opinion toward accepting confrontational posture with China. It also sends messages directly to Beijing about American political will. If American media discusses war with China regularly, Chinese leaders must consider that American public might support such conflict. The cumulative effect of all these moves is strategic containment. China finds itself increasingly constrained by American military presence and allied partnerships. Attempting to break through island chains means confronting overwhelming firepower. Trying to intimidate neighbors triggers American responses. Pursuing Taiwan reunification invites military intervention. Every Chinese objective faces American military obstacle. That's containment through forward presence, backed by alliance networks. But this strategy carries enormous risks. Containment requires maintaining superiority. If China surpasses America technologically or operationally, the entire approach collapses. Containment also requires allies remaining committed. If Japan or Australia reconsider, American position becomes untenable. Most concerning, containment historically creates desperation. Contained powers sometimes lash out violently. If China concludes that time works against them, they might attack before American advantage becomes insurmountable. The strategy might provoke the war it's meant to prevent. The question isn't whether these moves send a message to China. Obviously they do. The question is whether the message achieves American objectives. Does it deter Chinese aggression or accelerate it? Does it strengthen alliances or create dependencies? Does it maintain peace or make war inevitable? The answers matter because the Pacific military buildup is the largest strategic undertaking since the Cold War. Success preserves American influence in the most economically vital region. Failure means war against a nuclear-armed superpower with consequences beyond calculation. Right now, every military move serves as both deterrent and preparation. Deterrent if China backs down, preparation if China attacks. American strategy bets that showing strength prevents needing to use it. Chinese strategy might calculate that America's commitments exceed its will to fight. One side is wrong. We're about to find out which one.